So you want the prong high on the neck and snug so it doesn't take hardly any pressure. You want to be able to fit maybe 2 fingers under the prongs. This is actually too much space right there, so you see that. So I ended up taking a link out later. Now you turn it around, careful not to grab the skin as you go, and you attach the leash to the part that swivels. It actually goes all the way around. See, it turns. It's really important that's what you want to clip the leash to, okay? Now you also want to back up. You can use a carabiner and just clip it to the collar and then the other part of the clip that's on the prong collars. They're all made that way. You'll see there's subtle variations with prong collars, but they all have that feature. So you want to make sure you get a carabiner and do that. Keep it high on the neck and make sure you get Herm Springers because they're made better than other brands. Okay, this is Rugby. He's got puppy brain, even though he's a little bit older. He acts a lot like Caesar did in part 1, jumping and barking at people and dogs and at his owners. The problem is it's actually quite a bit more escalated than Caesar's situation, so it was important to get him under control. So we're doing the same thing as this slip collar, all right? It's pressure and then loosen. He's really sensitive, and I'm going out of my way to be extra gentle with him. Slight pressure. And then as soon as he walks towards me, I loosen the leash so you can see it right there. Now what you can start to do, pressure, when he comes into me, yes, good. What you can start to do is start adding marker words, okay? So that's starting to mark the good behavior, which is very important. Once the dog gets the hang of it and you think that he's more in tune with you, you want to start to mark what he's doing with a yes or a good. People tend to like good. I use yes more often. So even if you were teaching sit, it would be sit, yes. So that's kind of the attitude we're going for here. Now you notice sometimes he's kind of sitting, and that's because he is used to pressure means sit. So that's why we're getting that alternative behavior. And that's common. The dog's not sure what to do and they're feeling pressure, so they start to sit down. But just be patient. Make sure you're not pulling up on the leash. Make sure you are pulling at an angle towards you. So the point of these turnarounds, is what I call them, is just to settle them, get them more in tune. Now right here I tried to see if he was settled enough to take food, and he did kind of lick it. I think he took that piece, but then when we tried again, he wouldn't take any food. He still needed some work on settling him down. Yeah, right there, he completely ignores it. Now, we did get to the point where we were able to reward him when he saw another dog. Even got to the point where he would sit and look at his owner, and we were able to keep focus with food, which was a really nice step. You'll actually see that later with a Boston Terrier, but we did get to that point with him. Now, I'm sure you guys are probably all saying, wow, he looks great. Why does he even need the prong collar? And that's just because we couldn't get the footage of him jumping around acting crazy because we were just trying to hold on to him and get the prong on him safely. But trust me, you're right. This does look great. He looks like a really calm, good-natured dog who just isn't quite sure how to walk on a leash. And it's a night and day difference from what we saw before. Now, it's also important to mention that that with Caesar, we took like 20 minutes and then went to corrections. We worked with him for an hour, including threshold training, which was tough for him. And we didn't move to corrections. And in this case, I advised his owners to spend a few days just doing the pressure training and to actually start every session with some of the turnarounds to settle him before they went into corrections. And that's just because of this particular case. I want to make sure he understands, how this works, basically. That the pressure means to, come towards me. And only when he learns how to turn that pressure off, can the corrections work. So if you notice that your corrections aren't working, it is possible they're not hard enough, or it's possible that the dog is not settled or in tune with you enough to know what's going on. Okay, I'm correcting for pulling, lagging behind, or sniffing the ground. Quick pop corrections behind my leg or in front, but preferably behind. They're kind of to the side, definitely not up. You do not want to correct upwards. He's only got a few inches of slack, okay? Now, if he wasn't listening to my corrections, then I need to do them harder. Or we need to do more turnarounds to settle him down. Okay, those are kind of the two things. But if you feel you're doing that and it's still not working, this could be the issue. If your dog looks at another dog intensely, overexcited or aggressive, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's at a level 4 and your correction was at a 2 or a 3 or a 4. You're actually nagging the dog, and with some dogs that actually makes it worse. You're actually adding anxiety into the mix instead of squashing it and able to redirect to a more positive, calmer state of mind. So if you feel like you're struggling with that, then you need to seek out a trainer right away. So sniffing the ground is a big issue with him because he eats stuff off the ground. So I give a light correction right there for sniffing, and he does it again, so I give a harder one. And after that, he didn't try to sniff the ground. His issue is a little different, so if you'd like to see his full story, because he picks stuff up off the ground and eats things, just click right here and you can see his whole transformation. This is Vader. He's a typical case of a dog-friendly dog, but on the walk he pulls, lunges, and barks and screeches at other dogs. So he's really not walkable in this type of environment. A few different things about this case is, even though we didn't have any distractions around, he pulled so bad that as soon as we put the prong on, he kind of corrected himself, even though we were trying to be easy. And then from then on, he got it. He understood. And treats don't escalate him. They actually help him control himself. So we started treat training within 5-10 minutes of just walking him up and down the street with other dogs. So we had another dog barking around him. And this was the result, is we would just do pass-bys, the other dog, or the other dog would pass by us, and the goal was to walk calmly by and correct for even looking at the other dog. That way the energy stays low and we can reward. Or stopping and sitting. That was a little bit more of a pull than a pop, if you guys saw that, but it still worked. So stopping and sitting, and then rewarding for eye contact. When those ears go back and he looks up, he gets a reward. So here's another example. There's a little correction. He turns and looks away. Another correction for stop and sit. And eventually those will phase out. He'll just stop and sit when you ask. You won't have to correct him in order to get him to do it. He already knew how to sit, so that's why we moved right on to corrections. So this is a case that probably a lot of you guys are in, where you combine any correctional methods with treat training, whether it's a leash or prong. This is our animal aggressive case, and of course, as soon as I put the prong collar, a dog was really far away, actually, about 30 yards away, 20 to 30 yards, and this is how she behaved. Now, I chose this park specifically because I hardly ever see dogs here, and it's just the way it worked out. So I didn't correct her, because that wouldn't have been fair, but I let her kind of feel the collar out, as you could tell. And I could have just grabbed a hold of her flat collar, like with other dogs, but I couldn't with her because she has a history of snapping at the owners. It's just transference. It's actually pretty common. They just transfer that energy to what's right next to them because they can't get at what they want to get at. Now, just walking regularly, she's obviously not leash trained, and even though she's people friendly, she won't pay any attention to people at all. She's just completely out of tune and just overstimulated, won't take food, and just doesn't know what to do. Once she settled, we went to turnarounds and started on the grass because there were so many people, but it was too distracting for her, so we went on the sidewalk, and she was doing really well. Within just a couple of minutes, she started acknowledging people around her and didn't even realize my camera guy was around, which is why I included this clip. This was after about 5 minutes of him being right on top of us, and she was finally like, oh, look, a human. And you're going to see it right here. And normally I wouldn't encourage this type of excitement, because you can tell she doesn't want to follow me. She's so interested in the person that's all of a sudden behind us after 5 minutes of doing this. So I kept it really minor just because she was settling down, and I was really happy she was finally just acknowledging the environment around us at a more calm state of mind. I was really thrilled with that, so I stuck with it. And there were also dogs across the street that were barking, so we had quite a bit to deal with. right here. Oh, and it's also worth noting that there are no owners on this one. They had just adopted her. She has an abusive past. They were struggling with her, and so you know, this first session was just me, and then I'll bring the owners in later. But look at her right here. Look how happy she looks. This is a totally different dog than the dog that was you know, dragging, you know, my cameraman around and smelling. She's standing here. She's calm. Her ears are back, and here she walks past a lady that she had focused in on initially, and then she just started ignoring. So I was really thrilled with her results, even though it's not a situation where we can get right up on another dog right away, like you saw in the other video. It's definitely really useful to put stuff like this in. I loved this because I couldn't get her to sit when I first met her, even though she supposedly knew how to sit. She wouldn't sit for her owners, and she wouldn't sit for me either. She actually got a little snappy about it. So offering me a sit right there, just because she was so calm, was a huge thing. Watching that bike go by, that was a huge thing. So all these little things, they really add up. Okay, we went back to where we picked her up from, because this is where she was adopted out at, and we brought out another dog that barks at other dogs like crazy. That's why the video is so shaky, because he's holding the dog that's constantly barking at her, and also this video is sped up some, you know, so you don't have to see the whole thing. We're doing turnarounds, and right here you can hear the dog, and that's not her, that's the dog the cameraman is holding. I just wanted to add that audio in so you could kind of see what she was going through and what she was listening to. I also took the liberty right here just to show that she won't take food, because I know a lot of you deal with that. You're told that you need to do treat training to make a difference, and your dogs won't even take it because they're so overstimulated. So that's why I put that in there. Now we are at correction mode now. She is getting corrections, and we're also just doing turnarounds. Just until she settles, and we're gradually getting closer and closer and closer to the dog. So this is basically, I believe it was about 8 minutes of turnarounds that I sped up and then cut some of it as well before we got this close. And notice I'm staying calm, non-emotional, clear, really important. Look at that, ears back, tail lower. So I'm massaging her. I wanted to see how tense she was and see if I could get her to relax a little bit. No petting. Don't pet an overexcited or fearful or anxious or aggressive dog. But she had settled at that point, so I just kind of massaged her to see if it would relax her, and it did. And that's as close as we got. A few feet, first day, that's plenty. So a lot of this, guys, is really about managing your space. Obviously, sometimes when your dogs mess up, it's a great opportunity, to be able to correct them and settle them and show them what you do want from them. But you can't just go right up to, what it is that's causing that trigger. You do have to go slowly. Like a dog that reacts to the doorbell and to people coming in the house, you don't just put them together. You start with the doorbell and desensitize that and work with them, and then add people. So you got to take your time out there, guys. But as you can see, this is a really great tool that can just give you really fast results and take your life from just really stressful to pretty simple very quickly. So if any of you are interested in more training like this and have questions, let me know. I can give you great references and send you to other videos and give you lots of ideas. So if you have any questions, info@doggersizela.com. Make sure you subscribe, please, and check out our website, doggersizedogtraining.com.